It's the Morning Star Drive 117.8. You soaring up with sky, now's the time, don't delay. I'm sitting in my ride and it's time to fly. So let's realign, just listen and fill your mind.
Hey guys, how is it going? And welcome to the Morning Star Drive on 117.8. It is Wednesday, January 10th, and so happy for you joining us. We are ready to start another day together with the Lord. So subscribe to us on YouTube, follow us on SoundCloud, and make sure to follow us and support us on Patreon. So today we have an exciting podcast for you. We have Health is Happiness, the Foundational Figures Word Study, and of course commentaries, updates, and news on what is happening around the world in this history today. Whew. All right, everyone, how are you doing? Yes, it is Wednesday. It is Hump Day, the middle of the week. Don't forget, we have Q&A tomorrow, so get those questions ready. Send them to me whenever you can. If you haven't yet, leave a like and comment to build our community. Just super happy for everyone joining us every weekday on the Morning Star Drive. Let's get up and support each other each and every day. This week's Sunday message title is Know the Times and the Signs. All right, everyone. Yes, it is Wednesday, the middle of the week. We have Wednesday service tonight. Hope you guys will really look forward to it. Make sure to pray for your leaders so they can preach with the fire of the Holy Spirit. Yes, it's the middle of the second week of January 2024. And if you think about it, if it's January 10th, we're already a third through January, like a third of the first month of the year. We are going by quick and fast. I'm so happy time is moving quickly. Let's make sure that we can finish off the last 5 days of giving glory to God really well. I know that a lot of churches are planning to have these big GGGs on Friday nights and also on Sunday also because of, it's going to be the 14th day. So just super exciting to see what churches are going to do for 2024 and the beginning of a new phase in God's history. This new phase is post-2023. What is going to happen? We don't know. Yesterday, I am getting a lot of comments, some DMs or PMs as they call it over here, posting, because I posted the letter from an ex-member, and I'm super thankful that people are listening to it and understanding the logic and reasoning behind it. And those guys who know, the letter is actually pretty old. It's from May 10th, but it was sent like a week or week and a half ago. And, me and Pastor David, since we've been hanging out for the last 3 weeks and such, we talked again today. And he was just telling me that he liked a couple things about the, of me going through it. He liked that I'm not using names. He liked that I'm not disparaging the person writing the letter, right? Because, in all, people have free will, free choice, and they are able to write and say and do what they want to write, right? But it's also good to hear the reason and logic behind it. And also, one thing he said is quite interesting. He says it indirectly discourages others from making these statements and sending them to people because they know now that it might go on my podcast. And, it's going to be looked at. I'm going to scrutinize it and look at it very carefully with reason and logic. So I think it's good to look these things over. They're sending this to like dozens and dozens of people. And yes, some people have been affected by it. And, for us, this is how we get back, right? This is not get back, but this is how we have to fight back. We have to say, hey, these things are going to be sent no matter what. Let's go over these things so people get to see what they truly are, what they mean. And I've already got a couple comments on YouTube that are saying that, yeah, a lot of it, you can just see now that it doesn't really make sense, and it's more of an emotional reaction that we're making to these things, especially when the environment, especially last year, especially from March, was when it was pretty bad, right? So I'm grateful and thankful for all of you guys that are gaining and benefiting from it too, and I hope it's something that can help you guys to think differently about these different types of things that do come out also, right? So I'm super happy, grateful, and thankful that we're all able to go through this together. If you have any questions, or if you've received any emails, if you received any like text messages and stuff, or people trying to pull you out, or they're trying to say different things to you, I hope that you can learn from how I was able to break down that letter, why it is believable or unbelievable. And like I said, I'm not sitting here like saying, oh, this lying person, this, and this. Oh, I can't believe this. Oh, they're going to the domain of death. Like, these are not things that, is not helpful to the conversation or discussion. And it's something that we really, really have to, be careful about because, some people may have gone through certain things that we don't know, right? There could be things that trigger certain things to happen, and we have to be those that are more sensitive to these things too. But yeah, I hope it's something that you guys have benefited a lot from. And for me too, I benefited a lot from it, just going over step by step, paragraph by paragraph. I said 3 pages, but someone pointed out to me it's actually a 6-page letter. It's 6 pages. Yeah. And, I think yesterday's was an extra long podcast because that letter was longer than I thought it was too. So we went through 6 pages and basically we went over, not paragraph at a time, but like kind of idea we went over different ideas at a time. Okay, so yeah, if you guys have anything else, or if you haven't heard it yet, it's on yesterday's podcast. I went over the letter that was sent by the ex-IMD director, sending emails to dozens of people, trying to get them or pull them out of this history. But yeah, lots to think about there too. And yeah, when you look at it more reasonably and rationally, it's a lot easier too. Okay, interesting discussion I had today because a lot of talks are going down right now about online ministry and also an online church, right? And we talked about this before, but this is something that, I really have a passion for. So, the team is slowly building, and there's more and more people that are very, very interested in this too. And yeah, discussion about how the online church is actually going to work it's an interesting topic, right? Because what's the next step? If you have these people that are interested, they want to come to church or whatever it is, how do we, connect them and such too? Right? What's the next step? And when you're discussing this, the thing that we're going to realize as we discuss this more and more is it's not going to be the same as a regular church. It's an online church, because a regular church that we're used to, we would be meeting all these people one-on-one, talking to them, going out with them, Bible study, and doing this and that. But internet ministry is a whole different ballgame. Like, we have to look at it in such a different way because it's not the same. We have to look at it as something that is so different than any other church we have tried. So let me give you an example. When you do internet ministry, these messages and such are going to go, it's going to go to it's going to the entire world. Every country, every region that has internet that sees it, it's going to go to every place possible. Different countries, and in most cases, and when you think about it, especially in the English world, because it's all going to be in English, we're going to have, we won't have any churches in probably the vast majority of people that are going to be interested. We're not going to have any churches in that area, which means we will most likely never meet these people. We're most likely never going to talk to these people in person. It's going to be really difficult. Like, some people would say like, oh, maybe try connect them to churches in the country they're from. But let me give you a big example, like say the U.S. U.S. is huge, right? If you went from one side of the U.S. to the other, you're taking a plane for like 6 hours, right? So if you look at the U.S., remember, even if you look at the English-speaking world in Providence doesn't even have a combined 1,000 people. It doesn't. That's like all of America, Canada, Europe, Australia, New Zealand, Singapore. Like if you go and like maybe there's an English church also in Malaysia. If you take all those countries together, you're not going to get 1,000 people. We don't have a lot of manpower. So if we just took a look at the U.S. as an example, you would have 3 major churches in like LA, New York, and Houston. And most churches are still small. They lack in manpower. And they already have enough just dealing with the people, the physical people inside their church. So they're busy enough in their physical churches. But then to ask them to start taking on people from other places in their country that are like hours and hours, even in flight time away for them, which they may never meet, is something that every church may not have the manpower to do. And there's going to be some people from countries we have no members in. So internet ministry is not as like straightforward, like, oh, it's going to work like this. It's going to be a bit tricky because we have to bend our regular minds to what we once knew and change it to something different, like the way that we think about this church. Like everything's going to have to be done online, right? Management may have to be done on a scale where like management would have to be done maybe by a live stream where you can finally it'll be a live stream and people can chat and ask questions on the live stream and stuff, something like that, right? And that's like one way you could do it. Or having a conference every year where we physically meet, right? And there's so many things that we can do, but it's not going to be the same as having a regular physical church. So, now that it's 2024, a lot of us are thinking about what we can do to advance this history and advance the gospel. And right now we know that an online church or online ministry will take some time to organize and to actually make. So I'm definitely I know when we start an online church, we're not going to be able to do it right away from the beginning. So what I'm definitely going to do is start first on my YouTube channel, The Espresso with Sky. Maybe start doing some mini sermons to get things going. But I actually think I'm going to rebrand my channel. Like instead of Espresso with Sky, this might sound funny, guys, but I think I'm going to change it to The Rebel Pastor. Like I think that would be funny, but also it has meaning behind it because we're kind of rebels of doctrine. Like we're not going to be the same as the mainstream of Christianity. So I was thinking maybe I'll change myself to The Rebel Pastor. I'm not sure, guys. Do you think that'd be a cool name for a YouTube channel, The Rebel Pastor? And I'll start doing mini sermons and stuff like that too. And me and I had a meeting with my editor the other day too, and we had just had a good talk. And we're thinking, yeah, we could start this right away. So and then as it continues to grow, and in the background we're making the online church and get that ready to go too. But I think it's going to be kind of cool that later on we can use that channel as like the gateway to the online church. People who like the YouTube channel can go to the online church after. And then, then from that point on, I think everything can be done online, which I think is quite interesting because we may think, it's hard for us to really grasp, is it really possible to manage and do everything online? And I'm not actually sure. But I do think the two major types of people we will have in the online church and I think the vast majority of people are those that already have a physical church and they're using the online church that we make as like a secondary church to gain, this is what a lot of Christians do today is they'll go to their regular church, then at night they'll go to another church to have an evening service and stuff like that too. And I think secondly will be like a smaller group of people is going to be the people who don't want to go to a physical church. They're used to being behind a screen and they're used to having church in this way. So that's kind of the feeling that I have right now. And I'm not sure what you guys think, but that's what I think is going to be the beginning of this online church. So yeah, I don't know what you guys think, but that's kind of what I feel at this time right now. But I do want to start getting it done on the YouTube channel first before anything else. Yeah, so that's kind of the idea that we have been going over, and I hope it's something that you guys can also put some input onto, because I'm going to start doing those mini sermons quickly. But I do want to know about the name. What do you guys think about the name The Rebel Pastor as the name of the YouTube channel? Because for me, like one cool thing is I have not changed my my website, my YouTube address, right? So what happens is for each channel, once you can actually take the channel name. The channel name could be, it'd be youtube.com/Espresso with Sky or whatever the name of your channel is. But I purposely have not done it because I wasn't sure that Espresso with Sky would be my channel name from this point on. So very, very interesting what I was thinking about this. But yeah. That's kind of in my mind. Tell me what you guys think about that. I think it'd be a fun title, The Rebel Pastor. Or if you have a better idea, I would love to hear that too. All right. New poll just came out talking about how we feel in 2024, meaning how is your faith? How is your conviction in 2024 now that 2023 has passed? How has your faith changed after going through that? Is your conviction stronger? Is it the same? Is it weakened? Or is it like really, really bad? Like that's something that I think will be quite interesting. So yeah, I posted up already. We have 27 votes at this point in time and 67%, which means that about two-thirds of the people say absolutely they are convicted even more. 11% say that they're same as before. I've been a little weakened is 19%, and 4% is I'm destroyed. And those that are destroyed, like their faith is destroyed, or they're destroyed in their heart, like, oh, I can't believe this happened. I'm not sure, but most likely if someone's destroyed, they're probably not in Providence. That's from what I was thinking, or maybe not. Yeah, I guess it would be different from person to person. I guess it would be different from person to person if I were to really think about that too. Yeah. So that is the poll. Go ahead, put it in there. I do have a feeling that it's going to be somewhere along this line where about two-thirds to three-quarters are going to be like more convicted. Like they went through it. They can see through all the like how false these things are. And it just makes their faith even stronger that this is the real history. It may not mean that they're like the strongest basic faith in doing all these things, but they're definitely going to be convicted even more that this is the history, right? So that is the poll that is up right now. And for myself, 2023 definitely has made me stronger, right? And it gives me direction for 2024, what I really want to do. And of course, not everyone, but I really feel that the majority is going to be wanting to just push forward, get 2023 behind us. And I think as a group, we've become stronger because of it. And I think that when more adversity comes in the future, we are definitely going to be able to handle it much better from this point on, right? Like one person even told me yesterday that like this letter that I read yesterday for the Provi in the media, they said it would have been detrimental for them if they heard it last year. But now it's actually not that bad, right? Like we've already gone through the mess. We've gone through the emotions already. And people are actually more curious about how to understand it or why it doesn't make sense other than just saying that, hey, this doesn't make sense. But more than that, it's going to be like, yeah, I wonder what this means. I wonder what, how can we make a rebuttal to someone who sends us this letter? Right? And that's something I do think is very important for all of us, is not just for us to just say, hey, that's bad, without really saying why it's bad or why it doesn't make sense or why it's not believable. Right? So if you guys listened to yesterday's Provi in the media, I went over that letter and we get to go over it step by step. And there's a lot of things that make it unbelievable. There are a lot of things, but like I said yesterday, the biggest thing is it's the source where it comes from. And it's just kind of like it's the repercussions people pay for if they, when they make mistakes or when they do things in the wrong way. Right? Like people, like it's like the boy who cried wolf. If you keep saying one thing and then then you start saying, oh, not the boy who cried wolf. Like if you start changing your minds, if you're so convicted about one thing, you keep changing your mind, what happens is you become untrustable, right? So even when you're telling the truth, people won't believe it. And that's kind of like, that is the boy who cried wolf, because twice he joked around about it, which means he was lying. And then the last time he was telling the truth, but people didn't trust him anymore. So the boy died from the wolf kind of thing, right? So it's very, very, I think it's a good mental exercise for all of us to go through. And I hope it's something that all of us will really get our hearts and our minds to think about ourselves, where our minds are at, and how much are we affected emotionally more than anything else. All right, so very, very grateful and thankful that we have reached this point. 2024, we're already a third into the month of January, and I hope that all of us will be that much better for it. There's something else that I wanted to bring up too. And this was something kind of cool that... it's just like, remember guys, I've been spending like the last 3 weeks with Pastor David Baker, Daniel's father, right? And there's one thing he talked about was really, really, I thought it was a really cool, another cool analogy that he brought up, right? So right now he's not a pastor, he's not leading a church, he's actually, he's got a family and he's working as a teacher over there in Korea. His whole family's been living there for 11 years. And he was telling me this story where there was, when he was head leading, like we're talking like decades ago, not decades. Yeah, maybe like more than 15 years ago, maybe 20 years ago. And he was saying that there was someone who evangelized someone else. And what happened was they kind of started like generating feelings for one of the newcomers, right? And they were really trying to figure out how they can overcome it. And he said he just prayed overnight, just trying to figure out the answer. God, what can I tell this person? How can I give an answer? And God reminded him of this time he went to visit a dam. I think it was the Hoover Dam. I think it was. There's a huge dam over there in America. And they were building this gigantic dam, but there was a major problem is there's a river running through the place you want to construct the dam. So it's like, how do you actually make the dam when there's a river running through it? So what they did was they carved out the sides of the river so that the water flows around instead of through. So they carved around it so that they could build the dam and strengthen that wall, and then they put the water back where it should be, right? And the member, when they heard this, they understood it like instantly. And we're like, well, what does that mean? It means that here we have a river constantly flowing through. So here we are trying to make this dam, trying to strengthen ourselves because since we've given our heart or our feelings to this person, we're like going, oh, how do I stop thinking about this person? And you're trying to build this wall and dam while a river's running through, which is impossible, right? So what do you have to do? You have to carve and do something and make it go towards the outside of it, right? You have to divert it. Right? Divert it to the outside so you can build the wall, strengthen the wall first, and then let the water run through, right? And it'll be stopped by the dam. And one of the examples he gave me is like, he says, when people pray, they don't divert the water. They just say, God, help me to stop thinking about this person, right? But that means when you say this person, you're thinking about this person. You know, it's almost like when you say, don't think of elephants, the first thing in your mind is you can't help but think of elephants kind of things, right? So he said, and he gave this wise praise. He said, well, if you really want to pray and have those diversions, right, to divert the water from going through and just strengthening the wall first, he said, the better prayer is not to pray that you stop thinking about this person. The better prayer is, God, how can I fall more in love with you? God, how can I become a better bride? God, how can I have a heart that loves only you and no one else? And when you think about this, yeah, you're not bringing up the person's name. You're diverting the prayer, so it's not directly about it. But you have to take that time to strengthen yourself by building that wall and divert that river to somewhere else. And when you finally build up that wall in your heart where you're strong enough, that river can once again go through, but you won't allow that water to go through. You know what I mean? So when I heard that, I was like, wow, that's a really, really deep way of putting it. And I was like, yeah, I think that's what a lot of people struggle with is they can't help but keep thinking about that temptation or that person or that thing that they really, really want. And it drives them in a certain area, right? So when I thought about this, I was like, that makes so much sense, right? So I wanted to share that with you guys because, you know, when you put two pastors together and put them into some bro time, this is when the magic happens. I'm so stupid. Yeah, this is what I'm going to talk about when it comes to the Rebel Pastor YouTube channel. I don't know. Either way. So that's just kind of what I was thinking about. And those are the couple of things that I've been going through and discussions I've been having. Hopefully something that helps you guys also with things that are going on with your life also. Okay, so before we get into today's Foundational Figures Bible study, today's Foundational Figures, we're going to go over someone super popular, and it's actually someone that is kind of connected to Providence in some way. We're going to go over John Wesley, who is the father of the Methodist Church, and that's the denomination Sunstein came from, and that's even the seminary school that we bought, which was the John Wesley Seminary. Right? So we do have a connection with John Wesley, but I'm going to go through his story too. So I hope you guys are going to enjoy this. So before we get into this, let's get into the first break of the day.
Already said we win and keep on watching now. Already said we win and not just playing around. Defense, offense, that's what life's about. Star player on my team, watch us come back. No limits on the team, sign the contract. Star player put the team on his whole back. Coming from the east to the west, yeah, he did that. So respect that.
What you saying?
Through struggle, we trained hard, and now we standing on the gold road. It felt so low. Send us all the lineup, defenses get back, intensify, no more time to cry. Yeah, we ran the court and brought back the ring. Tell me on my mind, tell me all the time we like.
But we was finished, but we at it again.
Screaming like
1,000 years, you know we surely will win. It's time to suit up, yeah, it's game time. He coming back like the 4-5. Eagle has landed, no bird's eye. In the Prince do it till he's so fly, so fly. It's hip off, now the dreams are lie. Making sure your heart and actions are only aligned. Making sure you're only using just God's design. I perform like this to show you I'm shining bright. We know they watching, so we always gotta be cautious. Put the word on the map, that's the only option. Thinking we're exhausted, now it's time we blow past. And we got that second win, so it's time to run it. We running through the defense, penetrating, I ain't never faking. Comeback season coming, yeah, we gonna show you who the greatest. Beat them by a less, I show them there is time for no debate. And at the end, you're either mediocre or you be the greatest.
What's up? Hey, you think the world is gonna stop us? But wait, the MVP is with us, no bluff. I said,
So neat. I'm with my angels like a billion deep. I ball so hard that they can't compete. We only going up, just watch and see.
and that's all the lineup. Defense, let's get back, intensify. No more time to cry. Yeah, we ran the court and brought back the ring. Some me on my mind, some me all the time. We like,
Thought we was finished, but we at it again.
screaming like,
1,000 years, you know we surely will win.
some me on my mind, some me all the time. Some me on my mind, some me all the time. Some me on my mind, some me all the time. Some me on my mind, some me all the time.
All right, so let's get into today's word study. And every Wednesday, we do have the foundational figures of Christianity. And we are here going over John Wesley. Now, John Wesley is actually quite important even to Providence because John Wesley began the Methodist denomination. And what's interesting is Sunseam came from the Methodist denomination. And even on top of it, we actually bought one of the Wesleyan seminaries over there in Korea. So this is, it's kind of cool just to see where this all formed from. And it kind of gives us a history of like what Sunseam learned being a part of that denomination before we started Providence, okay? So let me first talk about how important John Wesley actually is. Now, we're going to go we're talking like over like 100 years after he died. When the Declaration of Independence, when people are signing the Declaration of Independence in 1877, at that point, the president was Wilford Woodruff. And basically, you know, a lot of things were happening there, but Woodruff set apart 3 individuals, right? Like historical figures that he set apart. And it was Christopher Columbus, you know, as part of the foundation of America, Benjamin Franklin, and surprisingly, John Wesley, right? He didn't even explain why. So, you know, President Woodruff recalled that the signers said, "We laid the foundation of the government you now enjoy," implying that their work played an important role in the restoration of the gospel. The special distinction granted to Columbus, Franklin, and Wesley suggests that they perhaps played a particular important role. Okay, so it's you know, for us, it's very, very easy to cite and say that, okay, so Christopher Columbus played a huge role in America, and his role is probably more geographical. We would say that, right? And then Benjamin Franklin would be more political, and then everyone would say, of course, John Wesley's would be definitely more religious, right? So that's why people tend to credit the leaders of the Protestant Reformation, particularly Martin Luther, for playing the primary religious role in setting the stage for the Restoration. But nevertheless, it was Wesley whom Woodruff ordained with Columbus and Franklin. So just when you think about this, it's like, yeah, how big of a role John Wesley played in America and with the Restoration. Right? So let's begin with John Wesley's life. So he was born June 17th, 1703 to Anglican pastor or rector Samuel Wesley and his wife Susanna. John grew up in Epworth, Lincolnshire, England, and he was raised by a devout mother whose discipline and devotion provided the seedbed for those important characteristics of Methodism. Now, because of his mother's example and encouragement, Wesley began training to become an Anglican clergyman at Oxford. And through his studies, Wesley discovered a number of Catholic and Anglican writers who were part of what is called the Holy Living tradition. And these writers rigorously focused on devoting every minute of their lives to God through stringent scheduling and personal devotion. And this program was best laid out by the medieval mystic Thomas A. Kempis in his classic work, The Imitation of Christ, but the works of Anglicans, Jeremy Taylor, and particularly William Law further ingrained such notions in Wesley. Okay? So there's a person named Law, who's a contemporary of Wesley's, argued that one should strive for perfection in obedience to God's law and set aside all frivolity as a diversion from this important task. And Wesley found some suggestions of these writers to be overly gloomy and austere, but he nevertheless became convinced that obedience to God's law, inward and outward, as Wesley put it, was essential to being a real Christian. So the idea of being a real Christian rather than a nominal Christian became the essence of Wesley's movement. And this factor is demonstrated in Methodism's beginnings, which took place when John Wesley's younger brother, Charles, began attending Oxford. So concerned about the religious state of the college, Charles and a small group of like-minded individuals started what became known as the Oxford Holy Club. And although most of the students at Oxford were technically Christians, the Wesleys did not believe many of them behaved as real Christians. And the Wesleys did not seek to create a separate church, but hoped to create a society within the Church of England that would promote true Christianity. Soon, John joined the Oxford Holy Club. So as his brother did it first, John joined the Oxford Holy Club in their pious living, which included regular fasting, partaking of the Lord's Supper, scripture study, prayer, and holy conversion. And furthermore, the group engaged in simple living, giving what they could to the poor and ministering to prisoners. And because of their methodical regimen, they were soon labeled Methodists, though some detractors went as far as to call them Bible moths or Bible bigots. And some critics even claimed that the untimely death of William Morgan, a member of the club, was caused by the frequent fasts of the Holy Club members. Now, Morgan's brother complained to his father that the Methodists imagine they cannot be saved if they do not spend every hour, nay, or minute of their lives in the service of God. And now, despite these criticisms that John and Charles, his brother Charles Wesley, pressed forward in their determination to live holy lives, by 1736, the Church of England called John and Charles on a mission to the American colony of Georgia. So John hoped this call would allow him to preach to the Native Americans and generally increase his holiness. And after 18 months, John headed home frustrated that he had not accomplished either of his goals. Nevertheless, his Georgia mission was a turning point for Wesley in several ways, not the least of which was his encounter with a German pietist sect known as the Moravians. Wesley was particularly impressed with the conduct of the Moravians on the voyage to America. While the ship was in peril and the rest of the passengers were screaming in terror, the Moravians, down to the last man, woman, and child, quietly sang hymns. Now, when Wesley returned to England, he met several Moravian missionaries who taught him the importance of faith and salvation. As Wesley had been frustrated by his inability to live the holy law perfectly, the Moravians taught Wesley that he lacked an absolute faith in Christ. Wesley soon attended a meeting at Aldersgate Street where the preacher read from one of Martin Luther's treatises on the importance of faith. Upon hearing the remarks, Wesley obtained the faith he sought, recounting, "I did trust in Christ alone for salvation, and an assurance was given me that he had taken away my sins, even mine, and saved me from the law of sin and death." Thus, the experience of salvation through faith became central to Methodism. But this did not take away from the necessity of obedience in Christ. In fact, Wesley taught that it was through saving faith in Christ that one would be able to cease sinning entirely. In Wesley's words, saving faith brought a sense of pardon for all past and freedom from all present sins. The Moravians influenced the way Wesley organized the Methodists. For example, the Moravians met in small groups and called classes. These small groups were called classes, where their adherents would inquire after each other's spiritual progress. This division into classes, in addition to field preaching, became the hallmark of the Methodist organization. When he returned from Georgia with new doctrine, Anglican bishops began to exclude Wesley from local pulpits. And with the encouragement of George Whitefield, a fellow member of the Oxford Holy Club, Wesley began to preach throughout England, often in open fields. This practice, so common to the American religious experience, was seen as subversive by the Anglican establishment. And the Church of England worked on a parish system in which ministers were assigned certain geographical areas. Thus, preachers encroached, so this would make people not be able to encroach on another person's territory. So on the other hand, field preaching was essential for Wesley and his followers to reach the people. So Wesley took his message of scriptural holiness to the people, and he and George Whitefield sparked a revival of religion in Great Britain. Wesley's purpose was to cause his listeners to feel the same conversion he had experienced. Wesley felt it was important for Christians to experience salvation, and he called this experimental or heart religion. And such experiences were central to the Methodist revival. Sinners experienced salvation and dedicated their lives to Christ. And once a person had this experience, Wesley would encourage them to join the local Methodist class so the Methodists could help the new converts stay on the path. Thus, the dual forms of the field meeting where sinners repented and came to Christ, and then you had the class meeting where converts helped each other to remain steadfast, were Wesley's way of spreading Christianity in England. Now, Methodism was growing rapidly, and as it did, Wesley began to part with many of his associates. Though he owed much of his theology and practice to the Moravians, Wesley disagreed with certain ideas they had about faith. So the Moravians taught there were not degrees in faith. One either had absolute faith or none at all. Until one had absolute faith, one should not engage in any religious activity at all except waiting for the faith to come. Wesley, however, believed that one should continually be engaged in good works, which builds one's faith. Also, when Wesley visited a Moravian settlement at Herrnhut, Germany, he felt the Moravians engaged too much in levity and too little in rigorous devotion. So Wesley soon split with his Calvinist associates, chief of whom was George Whitefield. And while most Calvinists clung to double predestination, Wesley promoted instead an Arminian view of salvation, right? Arminian is more about free will, right? So there's someone named Jacobus Arminius, okay? He was a Dutch theologian who sought to modify Calvinist thought by rejecting double predestination, arguing instead that all people who accepted the Lord could be saved. Likewise, Arminius rejected the Calvinist doctrine of irresistible grace, that humans were powerless to resist God's saving influence if he chose to save them. Instead, Arminius argued that humans possessed free will that they could use to effect their salvation, and he wrote that humans could fall from grace if they turned from the Lord. So Arminianism began more than a century before Wesley's time, but most evangelicals prior to Wesley had preferred five-point Calvinism, which is tulip, right? And as a result of Wesley's Arminianism, the Calvinist Methodists formed in opposition to Wesley and followed George Whitefield. Now, Wesley's most difficult religious relationship was with the Church of England because of his field preaching, and other religions existed in England. Other religions did exist in England at that time, but they were marginalized in English society. But an Anglican minister considering all England, considering all England as his parish, as Wesley did, violated the laws of the church. Furthermore, Wesley allowed those who were not ordained Anglican ministers to preach Methodism. So Wesley's use of lay preachers, his field preaching, his insistence on holiness, and his long hair led others to consider him a radical bent on separation from the state church. Yet, Wesley saw Methodism as a reform movement within its mother church and was determined to remain with it. So with this goal in mind, Wesley encourages followers to take the Lord's Supper at Anglican churches, allowed only ordained Anglican clergymen within his movement to administer the Lord's Supper, and generally defended the Church of England as a legitimate, though flawed, body. Now, Wesley dissented from Anglican rules only when he felt he absolutely had to. Wesley continued to field preach because he felt Methodism and the Church of England was always strained, and Wesley felt bothered by this, right? So now here's Wesley desiring to remain with the England Church, the Church of England. And the reasons were more pragmatic. For instance, separation from the Church of England would cause infighting among the Methodists and marginalization in English society. And running a separate church would be overly taxing. So with all these consequences, Wesley reasoned it would limit Methodism's effectiveness in spreading true religion. Now, on the other hand, Wesley was also bothered by the concept of religious authority. Wesley ascribed to the state church idea of authority, and this concept rejected the Catholic idea of papal supremacy an apostolic succession, arguing instead that each nation's church had authority insofar as it adhered to scripture and Christian tradition. So the Church of England followed this tradition, and therefore it had its own apostolic authority, while dissenting sects did not. Additionally, in his explanation for why the Methodists should not part with the Church of England, Wesley threw in his own doubts about members of his society having the authority to perform ordinances. And Wesley explained that in the Bible, it is true extraordinary prophets were frequently raised up who had not been educated in the schools of the prophets, neither had the outward ordinary call. But, we read of no extraordinary priests, as none took it to himself. So none exercised this office, but he that was outwardly called of God, as was someone like Aaron. So without Methodism's connection to the Church of England, Wesley felt that his followers would not have the authority to perform ordinances. Though Wesley was willing to defy the state church on a few points, particularly field preaching, Wesley did not want to undertake practices that would force separation within the Church of England. Nevertheless, Methodism continued to spread throughout Great Britain, with over 25,000 members on the eve of the religion spread to the American colonies. Now, Methodism's growth in the American colonies caused even greater tension between Wesley and the Church of England, when Wesley sought the ordination of some of his followers whom he wished to send to the colonies. Now, the Bishop of London refused, saying that Wesley's candidates did not have sufficient learning. Frustrated, Wesley decided that expediency demanded that he break with protocol and ordain the men himself. So the case is widely different between England and North America, Wesley explained. Here, therefore, my scruples are at an end. So Wesley's brother Charles was furious that Wesley had performed these ordinations without authority from the Church of England, saying that such an act was tantamount to breaking with the church. And after months of debate, Wesley wrote to Charles, "You say I separate from the church, I say I do not, then let it stand." And despite this declaration, the American Methodists split with the Anglicans in 1784, and the British Methodists split soon after Wesley's death in 1791. So though he opposed the American Revolution, Wesley could not help notice the freedom the American Methodists gained when the Church of England was disestablished in the United States of America, and Wesley remarked to his American followers, "As our American brethren are now totally disentangled from both the state and from the English hierarchy, we dare not entangle them again, either with the one or the other. They are now at full liberty simply to follow the scriptures and the primitive church." Thus, the American Revolution wove together the contributions of Columbus, Franklin, and Wesley to create the full opportunity to do as Wesley suggested, right? So, through the Oxford Holy Club, George Whitefield, and, this guy was a major part of the American First Great Awakening of the 1740s, and preachers of Wesleyan Methodism did not officially arrive in the American colonies until 1769, right, which is like 29 years later. So Methodism gained a good foothold in many of the northern cities before the Revolutionary War. However, with their connections to the Church of England, the Methodists were seen as loyalists and faced many threats of violence at the hands of the Patriots. The fact that Wesley vehemently denounced the Revolution did not help Methodism's reputation in the colonies. But Methodism in America weathered the storm, and with the American Church of England in disarray after the Revolution, the Methodists were able to scoop up much of their membership. And the American Methodists, called the Methodist Episcopal Church, was soon taken over by Francis Asbury, using the word Episcopal because the church was run by bishops. The Methodist Episcopal Church made Asbury its first bishop. However, though Asbury remained devoted to Wesley's teachings, Asbury rejected Wesley's authority and ran Methodism in the United States without taking orders from Wesley. And Asbury proved to be a masterful organizer and leader, and he soon enlisted an army of itinerants who covered every corner of the new nation. So this is when Methodism took off like wildfire in America, to the point that it became the nation's largest religion by 1830. And historians say that much of the movement's astonishing success could be traced to the way in which American Methodists took advantage of the revolutionary religious freedoms of the early republic to release and, in a sense, institutionalize elements of popular religious enthusiasm that is long latent in American and European Protestantism. right? Which is including the belief in miracles and visions. So Methodists, they battled against Calvinism and infused the English-speaking culture with an intense belief in religious experience. And Methodist success led to the effectual triumph of Arminianism over five-point Calvinism in America, which is quite interesting, right? That the free will became more powerful than predestination at that time. And as a successful Methodist preacher from New Jersey exclaimed, "The doctrine of double predestination must die, and I would like to stand upon its grave and preach its funeral sermon." So the nature of early American Methodism is perhaps best represented by lives of Benjamin Abbott and Lorenzo Dow, right? And these are some people that we'll go over, probably some more in the future if we want to get into more foundational figures. But you can see that there was a huge influence, a great influence that John Wesley had in Christianity, originally coming from the Church of England and then spreading Methodism all over America. And at one point at the time of the Revolution became the largest Christian religion in the Americas, in the American colonies. So this is how it all began and started. And think about that. That's from the late 1700s and on. Right, and that plays a huge role because only 100 years later is when Sunstein was born, right? So, yeah, it's interesting looking at John Wesley's life, his influence from his family, and I hope it's something that we can look into even more. And that's something I do think is a very, very interesting topic because that's what we teach about predestination, Arminianism versus Calvinism. And here in Providence, the crazy part is we have the answer, right? We have the answer of both exist at the same time, which doesn't make sense until you realize the difference between absolute and relative predestination, right? If you guys have any questions or anything else you want to bring up to this, go ahead, let me know. That is Foundational Figures of Christianity. That is John Wesley, the father of Methodism. All right, so before we get into today's Health is Happiness with Julius Mayumo, today we're going to go into part 2 of what did Sunstein say, health tips that Sunstein gave. I hope you guys enjoy this. People enjoyed last week's when he talked about akebia. This week is going to talk about honey and your skin. Cool, right? So, let's get into the second break of the day.
Waver to wrong thoughts. I'll stay right here where I rise out of ashes. Your light will set me free. I'll never leave you, no matter if the world forsakes you. With all the love and blessings from you, I'll never forget all that you've done for me.
Okay, so let's get into our final segment for today's Wednesday podcast. And of course, we have Health is Happiness. We're doing some reruns from the past. There are so many good articles and segments that they've done there. And for the next, 2 more weeks, we're going to have 2 more episodes of What Did Sunseem Say? And these are health topics. And today we're going to talk about your skin and honey. All right, so let's welcome all the way over there from, I think, is he still in Africa or is he back in Australia? But from Australia, this is Julius Mayuma with Health is Happiness.
Hi everyone, Julius here and welcome to the Health is Happiness segment. We're back again to discuss how we can really take care of our health, and this is the week to be thinking about this, given the message. This is episode 21, and today we'll be continuing on with part 2 on the topic of What Did Sunseem Say? Again, this series is about exploring things Sunseem has said in regards to health in the Word, which I think will be very interesting for everyone. Today, we're going to be looking at some of the things Sunseem said in regards to staying young and looking after your skin in particular by using honey. I know this is something many people are interested in, so I hope that you all enjoy this. So during this episode, I'm going to be sharing bits and pieces from past messages Sunseem has written. I wanted to start off with sharing some extracts that kind of give an overall philosophy of how to approach health before I talk about honey specifically. Most of this will come from the message in the 9th of January 2019. And these are a bunch of Wednesday pre-dawn proverbs. But some of the other extracts come from different messages. So here goes. Proverb number 1. One person said that he was not cured even after spending 13 to 14 million Korean won. And he spent that at the hospital for 15 years. And even after endlessly drinking the medicinal spring water of Womyondong, he wasn't cured. However, when Sunseem placed my hands and turned his bones, it was cured instantly. All the medicine water he drank was not useless though. It was effective in improving his intestinal health. You must become a doctor of the body as well as of faith. Managing health pertains to both the body and spirit. Even Sunseem cannot maintain my health this way by relying only on doctors. I became a doctor by studying. I studied alternative medicine for 55 years since I was young. Not growing old and managing your youth is also one of the big successes of life. If you want to do things with a youthful sense, you need to be healthy and not be sick. If you're healthy, you will grow. If you're not healthy, you will grow old easily because your cells continue to die. I, Sunseem, is able to live a youthful life because I am healthy. Even for health, you need to fix the sickness inside and eat until you are fundamentally full. Then the nutrients will clearly perform effectively on your body. And let's stop here. Now, there's a lot of really good points in there. First and foremost, each of us really need to be responsible for our own health. That's a really key point. And we need to be really proactive in learning for ourselves about how to be healthy and practice take a more of a prevention approach to health, preventing diseases before they happen. Of course, on top of that, we need to go see our doctors and get ourselves checked out regularly. Now, the other point that really stuck out to me was that Sansanim said, fix the sickness inside and eat until you are fundamentally full. Then the nutrients will clearly perform effectively on your body. So what does it mean to eat until you are fundamentally full? Now, this is just my own realization, but I think it means to not only eat until your stomach is full, but it means to eat a nutrient-dense meal that satisfies your body's daily nutritional requirements. Now, I think many people are familiar with the term empty calories. It's eating food that tends to be high in fat or sugar, and it's often also salty, while having no nutritional value at all. Consequently, as a result of eating such foods, even though your stomach is full, your body is still hungry for nutrients that it's not getting from the diet. Now, even though we may not be really eating this poorly, like just eating empty calories in every single meal, but sometimes there are particular essential nutrients that are missing from our diet. And food cravings, or the desire to overeat, generally either come from, first of all, a psychological dependency that has formed in the brain to that particular food, or eating in general, or the result of your body experiencing nutrient deficiencies from your diet. Now, this is just generally speaking. If it's the latter, you may find that fixing the nutrient deficits in your diet eliminates or at least decreases your cravings for foods that you shouldn't eat. I found this for myself. On a side note, or in relation to this, I should say, those who are vegan need to actually be very, very disciplined about eating a combination of different plant protein sources to ensure that they get all their essential amino acids. Now, these essential amino acids can be easily gotten, including B12, vitamin B12 as well. These can be easily gotten from eating meat and eggs, but they're not really easily found in any particular plant protein sources. You have to eat a combination of different plant proteins to get all the amino acids that you'd get from just eating meat or eggs, for example. And without keeping this in mind, somebody who's eating vegan could find that they have a lot of cravings for foods that they want to avoid eating. Now, I have no issue with eating vegan, but this is something very, very important to keep in mind for those who do. Now, when it comes to staying young, Sansanim really makes a point in many of the proverbs that treating the inside more than the outside is most effective. And this is also true from my experience as well. Like, my skin got a lot more vibrant and healthy as well when my diet was really, really good. Yeah, more so than any kind of lotion that I used. Now, here are some of the things Sansanim said in regards to this. Proverb number 1. Applying cosmetics to the face is the same as nourishing a leaf. Fertilizing the leaf will only refresh the leaf a little bit and will not be that helpful to the tree. But if you dig the bottom of the tree and nourish the tree by fertilizing, the leaves will grow well too. Proverb number 2. Health requires both internal and external management. In order to manage, you need to take medicine every day. That medicine is food. You need to eat food at the exact time on a daily basis. Food can give you diseases and also cure diseases. So let me stop there. You know, it's so different if you think of food as medicine. When you take medicine, you take the right ones at the right amounts, depending on the situation, which is totally not how we see food most of the time. I think the only other group of people who live seeing food in such a way would be professional athletes. Now going to the doctor for regular checkups is important, but prevention is the best medicine. I also loved the parable about the tree. Cosmetics is like nourishing the leaf, and eating well is like nourishing the roots, which makes the whole tree, including the leaves, more vibrant. Now, I'll be talking more in detail in future podcasts about great foods to eat that help you stay young. And now, one of the foods that I already mentioned that Sansanim talks about when it comes to skincare is honey. So what did Sansanim say about honey? Now, Sansanim in particular talks about Manuka honey, which comes from New Zealand. The honey has a lot of medicinal qualities, and it's one that Sansanim uses regularly. There's actually a member in New Zealand who sends Sansanim Manuka honey to Korea, which is really amazing. So what are some of the things Sansanim has said about the honey? So let's start with the first proverb. There is honey that is produced from flowers of wild Manuka honey bushes growing in pristine areas of New Zealand. This honey possesses 100 times more properties than regular honey. For example, moisturizing dry skin, treating damaged skin, strengthening immunity, relieving fatigue, and antibacterial and antimicrobial properties, and more. All these properties have been proven scientifically, and even the FDA in the US acknowledges its superior medicinal properties. It is medicinal honey. Next proverb. You need to know how God and the Holy Spirit help you. There is a method for eating honey. Even if honey is the same, it's not as effective to take it on an empty stomach, mixed with water. You should take it undiluted. Then you'll get 100% of the benefit. Likewise, the original beings, God and the Holy Spirit, help you. Therefore, you should focus and accept their help 100%. So let's pause there. Now, I also remember Sansanim mentioning in a morning message in 2020 how he was taking a spoonful of honey on an empty stomach in the pre-dawn. Now, Sansanim also uses the honey as a face mask as well. Sansanim also continued to mention the following. Although watering a tree and wetting the roots is important too, the rain needs to come and fundamentally wet the ground in order for the tree to absorb a sufficient amount of water. It is the same for humans. Applying to the face cannot be a match to eating. If you want to improve your face with honey, applying to the face will be 30% effective, and eating honey will be 70% effective. Next proverb. Do not cover up your acne with makeup, but wash it clean, apply medicinal water, and keep it clean. So I'll stop here for a second. Again, here Sansanim is really emphasizing that what goes in is really super important. And this is really true. In fact, with the elimination of a lot of junk food or food that we're not eating, that alone, without actually eating other foods, can really help clear up your skin. Of course, it will always depend on your body type specifically, because some people react to certain foods while others do not. Now, aging, of course, is not just about the physical. There is also the mental and spiritual component. Now, Sansen also shared the following in regards to this. When I take medicine and ask God, how effective is it? God says, it's the same as watering a bucket full of water to a tree. If it evaporates and dries up, it is not that effective. However, you will think that you will be cured since you took medicine. If you think that a doctor will treat you, your nerves will maintain stability. Likewise, psychology plays a role in the healing of sickness. The reason people living with the life of faith are healed faster is because they have the faith and turn their thoughts in a positive way. Anyone who's been in Providence long enough can really notice the kind of trend. So the mind really plays a really big role. It's really important to take care of the mind as well as the body. So it's great to hear that Danny Baker is doing a new segment on mental health. Shout out to him and thanks for doing that. So there you have it. That's some really great food for thought from the message regarding health from Sansanim. I hope you all enjoyed it. In later topics, I'll be doing a series specifically on anti-aging. That's it for today's episode. Please drop a comment below if anything stood out to you, and thanks for tuning in. As always, see you next time.
And there it is. That is Julius over there in Australia with Health is Happening. He's talking about what Sunseam said about skin and honey. Hope you guys really enjoyed that. And this is something that a lot of us really think about is our skin, you know? No one likes troubled skin and pimples and stuff like this too, or getting wrinkles. Wrinkles are coming like crazy for me. But I hope that you guys enjoyed that and you could put those words into action too. All right? I think I'm going to go get a honey mask right now. All right? So there it is, guys. That is today's Wednesday podcast. Hope you guys really enjoyed it. Have an amazing and awesome Wednesday and a great service tonight. And we'll see you guys again tomorrow. Remember, there's Q&A Thursday on the Morning Star Drive on 117.8.
It's the Morning Star Drive 117.8. You soaring up with sky, now's the time, don't delay. I'm sitting in my ride and it's time to fly. So let's realign, just listen and fill your mind.
I'm burning with desire and the passion. Nobody can stop me when I'm like this. I got my head in the zone, you know. I'm on the Morning Star Drive, you know. I'm burning with desire and the passion.